Hello and welcome to the October 27th, 2020 edition of NewsWatch. I'll update you on the situation in France that has left 3 people dead and has put the nation on high alert, as well as COVID-19 and the polls, how coronavirus is affecting voting here in Iowa.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Brewster, and I will tell you about the presidential election, the possibility of the COVID-19 vaccine, and some more local news.
And I'll have your news for Iowa State athletics. Don't go anywhere. NewsWatch starts now.
Don't go anywhere. NewsWatch starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight on NewsWatch. As we come on the air, the people of France are recovering tonight after a shocking display of violence left 3 dead at the Basilia of Notre Dame in Nice. A suspect who has since been arrested killed 3 innocents with a knife, allegedly after saying Hu Allah Akbar, although these claims have yet to be verified, according to ABC News. The suspect has since been arrested and is currently residing in a hospital to be treated for injuries following his arrest. The stabbing also coincided with controlled explosions around Nice, which led French President Emmanuel Macron to declare these actions an act of terrorism. In a statement, President Macron said, quote, "If we are attacked, it is because of our values of freedom and our desires not to yield to terrorism," end quote.
In local news, the Alliant Energy Corporation is making strides toward greener practices. Their goal is to eliminate all coal from their generation systems by 2040. In order to complete this goal, they will be closing their coal-fired power plant in Lansing, Iowa over the next 2 years. By 2040, Alliant Energy plans on using only solar, wind, and renewable energy resources.
With the presidential election taking place in 5 days, going to the polls has never seemed more important or trivial. Well, in Iowa, it has gotten much more trivial as polling places across Iowa have begun to shut down before the election even starts due to COVID-19. After setting a record for the most newest cases in a day on October 26th, hundreds of locations across the state have closed, narrowing Iowa's options for voting in person. Many who cannot vote in person due to the closure of over 100 polling stations will have to find a new location to vote or have to vote absentee. The deadline for early voting by mail has closed across Iowa, and voting in person is the only option for those who still wish to vote. In the past, it has been shown that less polling stations normally results in fewer voters, which in an election as close as this one may be a determining factor in which nominee Iowa votes for on November 4th.
This weekend is Halloween, which means the parties start tonight. On Thursday in Nevada, there will be a spooktacular downtown cruise through the city's business district. Also, the bars on Welch Avenue in Ames will be hosting their annual zombie bar crawl. The town of Maxwell will be having their trick-or-treating on Friday night. Then, on Saturday, Ames, Nevada, Gilbert, Huxley, and the other surrounding towns will be having their trick-or-treating. And whatever you choose to do, please remember to stay smart and safe.
The search for an Iowa man missing since 2013 may have just come to an end. Ethan Kazmierzak went missing on September 15, 2013, after leaving bars in the Hampton, Iowa area. Over 7 years later, Kazmierzak's vehicle, a 2006 silver Volkswagen Jetta, was discovered by a dive team in a body of water just northwest of Hampton. Human remains were found in the vehicle, but have yet to be identified. We are sure to learn whose remains these are in the coming days, as well as what might have been the cause of their death.
In national news, President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are both in Florida right now, trying to win that crucial swing state. After Florida, Trump is set to travel to North Carolina, while his Vice President, Mike Pence, will be visiting Nevada and Iowa. Republicans are starting to close the gap on the Democratic advantage in pre-election voting. Joe Biden is expected to be in Iowa tomorrow.
Governor Kim Reynolds announced today that she will back new anti-racial profiling legislation after meeting with the team in charge of drafting said legislation for the state of Iowa's approval. Part of this legislation will require police officers and state patrolmen to mark down the given race of individuals they pull over to ticket or arrest. From there, this data will be analyzed by a team who will then report their findings every year. The goal is to stop racial profiling in the state of Iowa. The exact words or specifics of such legislation has yet to be announced, but will most likely be told when it reaches the Iowa Senate floor in the near future.
Moderna is currently taking a $1.1 million deposit from governments as it reaches the launch of its potential COVID-19 vaccine. The governments with deals with Moderna include those of North America, the Middle East, and several other regions throughout the world. Moderna's CEO, Stephanie Bancel, recently released a statement on the matter. Quote, "We are actively preparing for the launch of mRNA 1273, and we have signed a number of supply agreements with governments around the world." End quote.
Police in Philadelphia are on high alert tonight. This follows after authorities discovered a van filled with propane, torches, and what appears to be sticks of dynamite. The discovery of these potential explosives comes after a peaceful protest turned violent against police for the death of Walter Wallace Jr., a black man shot by police after failing to drop a knife when commanded. Wallace has a history of bipolar disorder, and the lack of information has contributed to the frustrations felt both by police and citizens. In order to combat the violence now in Philadelphia, Mayor Jim Kenney announced via virtual press conference that he will be deploying the National Guard to deal with this unrest. The body cam footage was shown to Wallace's family earlier today, but has not yet been released to the public.
I'm John Miller with your sports report. The Iowa State football team will travel to Lawrence to battle the Kansas Jayhawks on Saturday. The Cyclones are 3-1 in conference play, while the Jayhawks are winless. Iowa State is favored by 29.5 points. Kansas will be out without their star running back, Puka Williams. Williams decided to opt out of the season after his mother started dealing with health issues. Last week, Iowa State lost 21-24 to number 6 Oklahoma State on the road. Cyclones running back Breece Hall turned in another great performance on the ground. The sophomore rushed for 188 yards on 20 attempts for 9.3 yards per carry. The Cyclones dropped from number 17 to 23 in the AP poll. The game against Kansas provides Iowa State the ability to bounce back. Kickoff is scheduled for 11 a.m. The Iowa State soccer team is having senior night on Friday. The 2-5 Cyclones are set to take on Kansas State, who is 1-6. The Cyclones will be losing 5 seniors, including Cassie Ginther, Tavin Hayes, Courtney Powell, McKenna Schultz, and Shay Sullivan. The quintet has combined for 265 appearances, 17 goals, and 7 assists in their careers. The Cyclones are coming off a 0-1 loss against Texas Tech last week. Iowa State has not scored in 3 out of the last 4 games. With no postseason play, this will be the last game at home for the Cyclones this season. Kickoff is scheduled for 6 p.m. The Iowa State men's and women's cross-country teams are set for the 2020 Big 12 Championships. On Friday, the tournament will be held at Rimrock Farm in Lawrence, Kansas. The women will run a 6K at 10 a.m., followed by the men's 8K at 11 a.m. Both squads have enjoyed enormous success in the past. The men will search for their 4th straight Big 12 title. The women looking to claim their 8th Big 12 crown in the past 10 years. Callie Logue is a 2-time defending individual champ on the women's side. A win on Friday would tie her for the most Big 12 individual titles in a career. The women won both of their regular season races, while the men went 1-1. We'll see what happens this weekend. On Tuesday night, the Los Angeles Dodgers walked away with the ultimate prize, a World Series championship. The Dodgers defeated the Tampa Bay Rays 3-1 to secure their first title in 32 years. The series went back and forth the first 4 games, being tied at 2-2. But the Dodgers proceeded to win the last 2 games to clinch the title. A controversial decision by Rays manager Kevin Cash may have caused their demise. He decided to pull ace Blake Snell in the 6th inning with the Rays ahead 1-0. At that point, Snell had struck out 9 batters and had only thrown 73 pitches. But with the top of the Dodgers lineup coming up, Cash did not want them to face Snell a 3rd time. Nick Anderson, who came in for Snell, gave up 2 runs that inning, and the Rays ultimately fell in the game. But despite the 60-game season, the Dodgers can still call themselves world champs. Antonio Brown is ready for his comeback in the NFL. Brown was signed by the Buccaneers last week and has been preparing with his new QB, Tom Brady. Head coach Bruce Arians said that Brown looked fantastic in his first day of work on Wednesday. Brown is in the final week of his 8-game suspension for multiple violations of the NFL's personal conduct policy. Last year, Brown started the season with the Raiders before missing time in training camp with several unexcused absences. He then signed with the Patriots, where he played with Brady for a game, recording 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. But he was then released for multiple sexual assault allegations. Prior to 2019, Brown has been one of the best receivers in the league, recording a 1,000-yard season for 6 consecutive years. We'll see if he can replicate that in 2020 with his new team. That's it for your sports report. Stay tuned for more next on NewsWatch.
In lighter news, The Mandalorian Season 2 will be streaming tomorrow on Disney+. Although we know very little about this upcoming season, many speculate the Jedi Ahsoka from the Clone Wars will make an appearance. Disney has plans to have several Star Wars and Marvel TV series, yet the COVID pandemic has pushed them all back. The Marvel series WandaVision is expected to be released in December 2020. Ryan, have you seen The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I have. It was a show I really enjoyed through the first season. I definitely thought that there were some changes that could be needed, but I'm very excited, looking forward to the second season of Mandalorian. So much so, I actually asked my parents for the Disney Plus password again last night. Well, I think that is all we have for tonight's show. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch NewsWatch with us once again.
Be sure to check us out on social media and pages on our YouTube channel.
Have a great night, Ames.